Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, and in particular, the noble government and people of the United States of Mexico, who are our hosts at this meeting. Mr. Chairman, the modern organization of American states is 69 years old, though its antecedents date back to the vision and inescapable logic of Simón Bolívar's 1826 Congress of Panama. In any organization of such vintage, particularly one comprising diverse, sovereign, and occasionally competing states, it is natural that there will be some expansion or alteration of the original mandate. Those alterations are even more understandable in the context of a grouping forged in the fires of anti-colonial struggle, formalized among the embers of World War II, coming of age during the Cold War and hegemonic proxy battles, expanded and enhanced by the active membership of small island states, reshaped for good and ill by globalization and rapid technological growth, rattled by the effects of the global economic and financial crisis, and grappling with the continued grave and debilitating impacts of climate change. However, in dealing with the new challenges of the day, we sometimes lose sight of the forest for the trees, and inexorable mission creep poses the danger of departing from founding charter principles or producing an organization whose modern purposes would be unrecognizable to its founding fathers. The proliferation in recent years of alternative, complementary, or competing hemispheric bodies speaks to both changing times and growing queries about the legitimacy and raison d'etre of the OAS in this period of its institutional dotage, and Grenada alluded to this point. The solution to this sense of organizational drift is succinctly captured in the theme of this General Assembly: strengthening dialogue and concerted action for prosperity. This theme speaks to founding first principles of this organization: dialogue, action, not rhetorical excess, taken in concert, not unilaterally, and the pursuit of prosperity for our collective peoples. We must recall that in the OAS Charter, 4 of the 8 essential purposes of this organization speak to the eradication of poverty, solving economic problems, and matters related to economic, social, or cultural development. In a word, prosperity. And St. Lucia gave an eloquent and expansive definition of prosperity, which we adopt wholeheartedly. Prosperity and development is in the DNA of this organization. It is a central rallying point of our membership. It cannot be abandoned, marginalized, or damned with empty lip service. Action, concerted action, in pursuit of hemispheric prosperity and development can and must be central to the purpose and duty of this body. Any departure from the centrality of this development mandate under the guise of pleasant-sounding euphemisms like reform or streamlining or rationalization constitutes a departure from the reason that this organization was founded and continues to exist as a cohesive body. Mr. Chairman, it is important to note the tremendous opportunity that has been presented to the OAS by the global adoption of the Sustainable Development Goals. Achievement of the 17 SDGs are indivisible from the OAS's own mission and mandate. Indeed, Goal 1 of the Sustainable Development Goals, to eradicate poverty in all its forms, and our Charter's founding purpose of eradicating extreme poverty are functionally indistinguishable, though our Charter predates the SDGs by 65 years. With this renewed global focus on sustainable development, the OAS must choose decisively whether to embrace its long-standing legitimacy and comparative advantages in the fields of development, or cede it to more nimble, focused, and action-oriented bodies. To St. Vincent and the Grenadines, the answer is self-evident. The OAS is and must remain a body animated by development, peace, and cooperative action, acting within the confines of international law. St. Vincent and the Grenadines notes with concern a concerted attempt to use the admirable and necessary pursuit of human rights within our hemisphere in a manner that seems destined to produce nakedly political outcomes whether by design or as an unintended consequence of well-meaning activism. We note also that the more prosperous the advocate, the more narrowly and esoterically it defines human rights and the subgroups that merit its attention. But to the peoples for whom the right to education, the right to housing, the right to decent work, the right to health, the right to safety, and the right to not be rendered stateless are still urgent and immediate issues, the definition of human rights is necessarily broader. It is important for this body to recall the words of the United Nations Declaration on the Right to Development, which confirms that the right to development is an inalienable human right, by virtue of which every human person and all peoples are entitled to participating, contribute to, and enjoy economic, social, cultural, and political development in which all human rights and fundamental freedoms can be fully realized. It is in this manner and under this rubric that St. Vincent and the Grenadines hopes that the OAS confronts human rights, not as a box to check or a matter to be confronted in isolated and selective silos, but as a cross-cutting and multifaceted ideal rooted in development to which we must all earnestly strive, despite the individual shortcomings that we all, without exception, experience. Similarly, the unevenness of our advocacy on equally important and equally egregious regional human rights violations, like, for example, our shameful paralysis on the violated rights of thousands of people of Haitian descent, counsels level heads when confronted with the urge to chase headlines down the rabbit hole of institutional paralysis. Mr. Chairman, St. Vincent and the Grenadines wholeheartedly endorses the earlier comments by our CARICOM colleagues, in particular Grenada, Barbados, Bahamas, and Antigua and Barbuda, on the importance of the battle against climate change to our own existence and development. We call on the OAS to reaffirm the principles enunciated in the Paris Climate Agreement, and we declare unambiguously that any departure or rejection of those principles and responsibilities is a hostile act against the interests and very existence of St. Vincent and the Grenadines and the small island states of our sub-region. Mr. Chairman, within the rubric of development, as this organization's central mandate, St. Vincent and the Grenadines joins Barbados, the Bahamas, Suriname, and other CARICOM states in stressing the importance of educational assistance in the form of scholarships, capacity building support, and active national offices that direct the OAS's presence and activity within our respective countries. And we note with gratitude Chile's generous solidarity in contributing to that scholarship fund. Further, we highlight again the issue of de-risking and the loss of correspondent banking relationships as a matter that demands the urgent, collective, concerted action of this OAS. This body is charged by its charter to seek the solution of economic problems that may arise among our member states. The termination of correspondent banking relations is not a discrete private banking issue in one nation. It is a burgeoning economic problem that threatens the prosperity that we are here to pursue. The OAS cannot duck this issue, nor can it place it on the growing pile of Caribbean-specific issues that have been raised in this forum, but relegated to the back burners of benign neglect. This issue will become a litmus test of this organization's commitment to the prosperity and development of the entirety of its membership, and in particular, its engagement with the specificities of CARICOM states. Finally, Mr. Chairman, permit me to say a few words about the Charter principles of non-intervention, international law, and respect for the sovereignty and independence of states. St. Vincent and the Grenadines is a small state with a small population and no standing army. We owe our existence not to our mineral or military wealth or strength, not to benefactors or international beneficence, but to something called international law. Our equality of voting rights with entities larger and richer than us is due to international law and its recognition of our sovereignty and independence. In our immediate sub-region and in our immediate history, our peoples have witnessed duly elected presidents kidnapped and spirited away by plane. We have seen attempts of states to intervene forcefully in matters as discrete as individual criminal extraditions.
St. Vincent, would you be so good as to wrap up, please?
We have seen major powers issue arrest warrants for duly elected presidents. We have seen the urgent fury of military intervention, and we recall vividly uninvited and illegal interference in electioneering and election processes as part of Cold War proxy battles and continuing. This recent and immediate experience teaches wisdom, and it teaches that international law is not esoteric but essential. Sovereignty is not a fig leaf to hide behind, but a banner under which we are all assembled. In our return to Charter principles, I respectfully suggest that we would do well to recall these fundamental truths, and I thank you, Mr. Chairman.